My passion project for 2024. That's what we're talking about today. Hi, this is Frank Buck, and this is the place to be if you want to get organized and make it look easy. I bring you this week's content for two reasons. First of all, my background was in school bands. I was a junior high and middle school band director for 12 years and have been active in school bands ever since. So, if you have an interest in school bands, especially in the history of this activity, I think you're going to enjoy what I have for you. Secondly, even if you're not involved in school bands, you are likely involved in some organization and you have an interest in preserving that organization's history. And if so, I hope you'll gain ideas from what you see here that you can use with that organization. So, January 20th, 2024, I received a phone call from Dr. Rusty Corson, who at that time was president of our state's Phi Beta Mu fraternity. Okay, Phi Beta Mu is an honorary fraternity for band directors, and membership is highly selective. As one of the criteria for selection, a person had to have been a band director for a minimum of 10 years, and that's just for starters. Now, in my own career, by the time I'd been a band director for 10 years, I was already looking at transitioning into school administration. So pursuing membership in Phi Beta Mu was not in the cards for me. And that's okay. But imagine my total surprise when Dr. Corson calls to tell me that the organization has voted to make me an honorary member of Phi Beta Mu. At that time, I was one of only three people in our state to receive that honor. Well, so where does the story go from here? Well, it involves a website. One of the goals of our state's chapter was to establish a website. And being a part of the committee to do that was sort of a natural fit for me. So I was placed on the committee. I've maintained an interest in the history of the band movement, both in our state and nationally, for a very long time. After all, I decided way back in junior high that I wanted to be a band director. I lived in a college town, and that college hosted most of the state's school band events. So I constantly found myself around the very directors who are now legends in Alabama band lore. The state's Phi Beta Mu chapter established a Hall of Fame back in 1975 to honor the very best of the best. I was a junior high kid at that time, and the organization put together a display with pictures and short bios of the inductees. And each year that display would appear at the state's music conventions. Over the year, the display grew in size, and I got to know quite a few of the people personally. But there was a problem. In order for someone to view that display, they had to be present at one of those music conventions. And the rest of the year, that display lived in someone's garage. We could do better. And that website that we were going to create was just the answer. So we started by gathering photos and bios from the display. I used Google Lens to transcribe those bios into editable digital text. Gathering the photos was a combination of asking some of the living members to supply a photo. In the case of members who had been deceased, a relative might be asked to supply a photo. And in some cases, the best we could do was just take a photo of the picture that was on that physical board. With photos in hand, I uploaded them to the media section of the new website and began putting together a page that now duplicates the information that had been on that physical display. And now there's no need to wait around for the next music convention. Anybody, anywhere can enjoy this piece of Alabama band history. I have a link in the body of the blog post that's going to take you to the page where you can view it all. But it gets better. The physical board presented challenges. When a member's bio changed for some reason, making updates was very difficult. And when something significant happens in a member's life, well, now I can log into the website and update that bio in a matter of seconds. But it gets even better for there. For many of those Hall of Fame members, there's a recording of their band somewhere on the internet already. So for those members, I've included links in their bios. So now not only can you read about them and see their picture, but you can also listen to their bands. It gets even better from there. Let's talk about the Legacy Project. My friend Jim Knight is a retired band director with a successful career in both Alabama and Florida. Jim had witnessed a Florida creation of what they called the Legacy Project. The Legacy Project was a series of interviews with Florida's most successful band directors. Well, Jim brought that idea to Alabama, and with the help of retired band director Chester Bean and University of Alabama music professor Dr. Carl Hancock, Alabama began the process of interviewing various Phi Beta Mu members from within our state. Now, as we built the website, I wanted to extend this idea of spotlighting the Hall of Fame members. Some of those Hall of Fame members had already been interviewed, and many had not. So I felt like the next step was if anybody needed to be interviewed, it needed to be members of the Hall of Fame. So over the next several months, I set out to interview via Zoom all of the living members of the Phi Beta Mu Hall of Fame here in Alabama that had not already been interviewed. We posted the interviews to YouTube, and we dribbled those out a couple a week and put on social media posts that would take people there to kind of build interest. There were many comments left by former students and colleagues as those interviews started to appear. Various comments on Facebook about the things that they had learned under these people, the friendships that had been gained. So you'll see a page on that Phi Beta Mu website where you can go and watch all of those interviews. And as you would expect, back over on the page of photos and bios, there are links from the bios to those interviews. Let's take things a step further. In addition to that physical display that made its semi-annual appearance at music conventions, Troy University had dedicated a space where it displayed framed photographs of the Hall of Fame members so that anyone, when they walked down the hall of the music building, they could see these photos. Now, what was lacking there was the biographical information to go along with them. So you could see a picture of a person, you would see their name, but that's all you knew. So now it was time to take those photos and let them talk to everything else that we had done. So the final step was to create for each member a QR code to accompany that photograph at Troy University. Going back to the web page housing the photos and bios, I created an anchor link for each member. Now, what that means is this. An anchor link would take you not only to a particular web page, but to a particular spot on that page. So I created one for each of the Hall of Fame members so that you had the ability to, with that link, to go to that particular person's photo and bio. I then took each one of those anchor links and went to a site, and there are many of them on the internet, where you can go and create a QR code from any website. And then I downloaded all of those QR codes and labeled them with the name of the person. Now it was simply coordinating the project with Troy University. I contacted a friend of mine, Dr. Carrie Palmer, who is the Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for Troy University. Carrie, in addition to being a longtime friend, he was also a very successful band director before stepping into the administrative arena. Carrie was immediately excited about the project. Visitors would be able to view the photographs as before, but now by scanning the QR code, they would also be able to read the bio, have a link to the person's band recording, and watch an interview. Dr. Michael Thrasher, Dean of the College of Communication and Fine Arts, took the lead on the project from Troy's end. Their graphic arts department made the final version of the QR codes that they looked really nice. The department carefully removed the glass behind the photographs, behind which the photographs lived. They cleaned the glass, installed the QR codes, put the glass back in place. Kind of a time-consuming process, but well worth it. It is a beautiful display. And now anyone walking down that particular hallway in the music building at Troy University will be able to not only see the pictures, but by scanning the QR code, learn so much more about these Hall of Fame members. When our Alabama chapter of Phi Beta Mu established the Hall of Fame, it did the best it could with what it had. It created that physical board and it was labor intensive, but the effort was worth the outcome. The challenge for each of us is to do what they did, to do the best we can with what we have in an age when we have so much more. So I want to ask you now, think about the place where you work or worship or regularly frequent. Are there pictures hanging on a wall and you wonder about the story behind each picture? If so, you might just have found your own passion project. Use the technology you have to bring those stories to life. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more over at frankbuck.org. Join the email list, and I'm going to send you 2 free gifts. And with my weekly email, you'll never miss a thing. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Frank Buck, helping you get organized and make it look easy.